Zelkovich, and I'd like to welcome you to my inaugural YouTube live version of my monthly membership calls. I see there's only a couple people out there right now. I know this is probably a bunch of people will probably be late, and it is going to take a little while for people to get used to this format, considering we're not using Instant Teleseminar anymore. There were just too many problems with that, and I feel I can engage with you a lot better and a lot more personably in this kind of a format. So, I see there's only, looks like a couple of people out there right now, unless, of course, this is not really showing me anything accurate. But the reason for these calls is for me to be here for you. Okay? It's here for you so that I can answer your questions, your comments, and your concerns about the Morry Method products, of which you probably own or at least have heard of some of them. So, what I'm going to do is ask you on I believe on the right side, if you're on the web or if you're on your phone, if you scroll around, you should be able to find a chat box. And in that box, I need you to type away with a question, or if you're on your phone, tap away a question, or a comment, or a concern, or anything like that at all. Okay, and then I'll be more than happy to get back to you. So I see there is a question that just came in. That is fantastic. I will get to it in just 1 second. One question I do have is, can you hear me okay? If someone could just respond and let me know if you can hear me okay, and if you see me all right as well, that would be great. So what I'll do is, because I don't want to answer the question if I'm having a technical difficulty right now. So we have Oatmeal of some sort. Oatmeal-ish 5. I love that name. Yes, you sound fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so hopefully we will get some more people on the line anyway, but right now, the two of you that are out there have me entirely to yourselves, and I'm more than happy to stick around for as long as it takes to, be good for everybody. So the first question that we have for tonight is it okay to run several different brain prints at the same time? That's actually an interesting question. So my question to you is, pardon me, my question to you is this. When you say at the same time, do you mean over the same set of speakers? Do you mean over, say, you want to play 5 different brain prints on 5 different devices over 5 different speakers? Or are you talking about mixing them together yourself and then playing them through one device and one set of speakers? This is what I need to know in order to answer your question. You know what? I don't actually need to know. I can just give you all case scenarios. How's that? All right, so if you wanted to play more than one brain print at the same time, and you actually have more than one device and more than one speaker, sure, you can do that. That's not a problem at all, okay? However, if you mix them together, and I see you just mentioned mixing them together, then you're probably going to eliminate 85 to 90% of what I'm doing. Yeah, I use a special software that I had made for myself, specially designed, which allows me to embed all kinds of very cool frequencies, as well as other things that I'm not going to say because they're my little secret sauce, as it were. And if you were to mix them together yourself using Adobe Audition or even any other kind of mixing software, you would most definitely destroy 85 to 90% of what I'm doing. Just so you know also, for any of the recordings I have where you're actually listening to brainwave entrainment or any of my other recordings, listening with headphones that do noise canceling or noise limiting of some sort, that's also a no-no. You'll probably eliminate between 40 to 60% depending on the technique that's used by the headphone. If you have noise canceling headphones and you want to use them, the best thing to do is simply to turn off the noise canceling. Now, I've been told by many people that they don't have a switch to turn it off. All you need to do is remove the battery. Usually it requires, the noise canceling technology requires a separate power source. So as long as you disconnect that power source, you should be fine. Okay, let's see. All right. Are there any other questions right now? I can just blabber on about something if you guys like, and girls. Not sure who's out there right now. But please type away or tap away with some more questions. I'm more than happy to stick around. I do believe that this is a little bit new for a lot of people and they're not used to YouTube as such. The next time I will have my camera angled in the horizontal So it's a more widescreen effect. Right now, it kind of looks like some cheesy home video, I'm sure, but at least you're getting me and you're getting the audio, which is the most important thing here. So, uh, regarding the brain prints, are there any other questions? I also have triliminals. I have quantum mind power, quantum confidence, effortless prosperity, effortless relationships, effortless weight and health. I'm coming up with some new ideas as well. I'm going to actually be drafting a letter that myself and Song will be sending out very shortly to beta test two brand. I love this that I can actually, actually be seen here. Uh, I'm actually going to be beta testing two brand new technologies, if you will, techniques that have never been done before. And I'll be sending out an email to my list, anyone at themorrymethod.com. But I'll also be sending out emails through Song to the greater list, the larger list. And we'll be looking for people who qualify for two different systems. One of them is a visual system, actually. It uses audio as well, but it's visual, and it's unlike any design that's been used that I've been able to find anywhere online or anywhere in the dirt world, as they call it as well. So I'll need people to test that. It's actually going to be on 3 separate topics, and then we're going to go from those 3 different topics. We'll add more as long as we get good feedback, of course. The other system involves some new techniques as well, and it's about calming. As a matter of fact, one way that we're going to check is to do with blood pressure. I am predisposed to high blood pressure. I have been all my life. And in using this system, my blood pressure after sitting restful for about 5 or 10 minutes is under 120/80. So it's under that. And I've never had that. So I want to test it with folks out there who have blood pressure monitors so they can take pictures and show me the results before and after. And we can go that way because that will show calm. I won't actually be marketing it as that, as a blood pressure device, but it's going to be something that we can use to prove its efficacy. So I see that there is another question. So that's wonderful. We're going to get to it. I also see, there we go. I saw YouTube was stuttering a little bit there on my end at least. Okay, so we have another question. Thank you, Oatmeal. You are amazing. I love that you're participating. There is someone else. I see there's 2 people watching right now, and this will be available on as a replay as well. I suspect most people will be watching it as a replay. But Oatmeal and the other person out there, please type away. You're doing favors not just for me to give me something to talk about, but also for people at home who will be watching this at a later time. So I see that there's 2 more points here. I have 6 different brain prints plus the Initiator. If I run them at night when I sleep, will it be better to concentrate on one each night on repeat or several in a row on repeat? Actually, that's a great question. Okay, this is what you do. You have to listen to the Initiator lying down with your eyes closed, comfortable volume, and stereo headphones at least twice. Okay, twice a week. The reason for that is it's the exact same embedded subliminal brainwave entrainment tone that is in all of the brain prints. And the reason why that's important is we're going on the basis of a kind of muscle memory here, where we want to be able to have your brain recognize the subliminal entrainment by having a actual source, something it could hear. In that way, you get a subtle entrainment effect because of something called muscle memory. And the brain, don't be fooled, is a muscle. So when you want to run them at night, what we found, and we found this with the triliminals as well, is that you want to make sure, okay, that you are listening to as many different ones as possible. So in your case, Oatmeal, you have 6 different brain prints. What I suggest you do, aside from listening the twice a week to the Initiator, is cycle through them. So run the 6, and then if you want to listen to them all night long, you can do that. You just have them going all night long in rotation. Okay, it actually works the best way like that. So do the triliminals. Obviously with triliminals you have to pause in between, but still with triliminals you have the ability to pause but rotate through the group of triliminals. And remember, the way you choose brain prints and the way you choose triliminals, if you have the opportunity to get them separately, is to hold an intention. Once you hold your intention, it's a simple matter of seeing which ones jump out at you as the ones that you need to listen to. So if some of them jump out at you in a good way, makes you feel uplifted, those are great recordings, and they're obviously, according to your subconscious, as far as I'm concerned, saying these are relative or related to the issue that you're holding in your intention. If you have some that come up that are, stay away, those are actually probably even more related to your issue, and those you should be listening to as well. Keep in mind that ordinarily I would not suggest listening to any of my recordings that have brainwave entrainment in them on a rotation as you sleep. However, because these are subliminal and they're subtle, I have found with people and with myself and with my beta test group when I tested it, that it doesn't adversely affect the sleep. So it's not a situation where your brain is trying to follow the pattern as if you were listening to, say, neural synergy from quantum mind power or quantum confidence and self-esteem or any of my other, Schumann resonance, any of my other brainwave entrainment audible systems. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I would suggest instead of listening to one over and over and over again, you listen to the group of what you have. Now, keep in mind that there's a very logical reason for this as well, because whatever issues we all have, they're not related just to one thing. For instance, if prosperity is an issue, yes, I have a triliminal and I have a brain print on prosperity specifically. Don't make the mistake of thinking that listening to the prosperity brain print will handle everything. All of our issues, they do not exist in a vacuum, just like we do not exist in a vacuum. So there's a lot of different facets, a lot of different factors involved in why we are experiencing what we experience. This is why I told you about the way to choose the recordings just now, or just previous to this statement, was because you need to know that. You need to understand that your subconscious will pick for you the various topics. And even if they seem unrelated, you'd be surprised. Sometimes humor will come up for someone who wants to stop smoking, or relationships will come up for someone who isn't thinking clearly. You don't understand on a conscious level exactly what's involved, but your subconscious will tell you, again, by either saying, yeah, I want to hear that related to my intention, or, ooh, this is disgusting me, I'm having a violent negative reaction. That's even more likely to have to do with it. So what you would do is you would just rotate through all of those. Now, obviously with triliminals, you can't listen to them nonstop all day long or even all night long. So what you need to do with triliminals is, let's say you have 10 triliminals, you simply rotate through them. I can listen to 2 today, so I listen to 1 and 2, and then tomorrow I listen to 3 and 4, and the day after I can listen to 3, so I listen to 4, 5, and 6, and so on and so forth. And then you get through what you've done, you start the rotation again. This is not a race. It's all about changing and reprogramming what I call negative reflexive thought processes. That's what it's about. Okay, so there's a second part to Oatmeal's statement there. For instance, if I only run self-discipline on a loop a few nights in a row, or run SD, sleep, health, wellness, one after the other the same night. Okay, so again, I think I've already dealt with that. However, we now have another question. Thank you, Oatmeal. I really appreciate you. There's someone just joined the fray. Welcome. Please feel free to type questions, comments, or concerns. Oatmeal has been incredibly responsible in helping me out here by keeping the call alive. Hopefully more people come online shortly. I'd like this call to at least be an hour so that people who download it later have an opportunity to learn something. But however long it is however long it is. And, I'm sure as we get going on this and as people get more used to the concept of using YouTube, they will find that it's actually easier than instant teleseminar, and we'll be able to get more people involved. So we have another question, and I'm hoping we get some more here as well. But Oatmeal, thank you very much. Are you familiar with, okay, everyone can see it there. I'm not going to say the name. Normally, I don't like discussing other people's products, but let's see what your question is and see if, see if I can answer it responsibly. So first of all, when I see you mentioning paraliminals, actually, I used paraliminals when I was going through my severe depression. Now, if those of you out there don't know my story and want to hear it, I'm more than happy to tell you, but I've said it 1,000 times, so I don't want to bore anybody just in case. But if you do want to hear it, just say so, okay? So paraliminals was something I tried to help me with my depression. It actually didn't help me at all. However, it did inspire me to create the triliminals. I made certain changes to the paraliminals. Well, not to the paraliminals, but I used the basic philosophy and I evolved it into something that I found to be much more effective for me. And it turns out it was very effective for a lot of people. Interestingly enough, the triliminals got its start in a program of mine called Quantum Confidence. Now, Quantum Confidence was launched maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and as a Song, who many of you know because you're on this call and you get emails from Song all the time, would be that, and it's very interesting, is that Song actually asked me. He said, we've had quantum mind power for a little while. I know you've been developing this new program for confidence and self-esteem issues, but is there a way you can develop something new and innovative that hasn't been done before? So I said, sure. Of course, I had no idea what I was going to do. But then I remembered my paraliminal experience. And I thought, this sounds like such a good idea. How come it didn't work? And I tried it on friends too. When I bought their tapes, and back then it was tapes, I actually shared it with some people, and they said it was kind of cool, but they also didn't notice anything, and they used them for about a month. There's certain reasons for that, I believe, but I'm not going to get into that. However, it inspired me to create the triliminals. So let's see what the rest of the question is here, and I'll answer that. I'm trying to add value here because, of course, we have a situation where, participation is a bit of an issue. I can be very grateful to Oatmeal. We have 2 other people out there. Please type or tap away questions. I'd love to have more of you involved, and I'm sure Oatmeal would like to have some of the responsibility off of him or her as well. So let's see what the next part is. I found these to be effective, but at times time consuming. How does the science behind brain prints compare to the science behind? Okay, they're they're kind of different, but not as well. Okay, triliminals were inspired by the lack of ability of paraliminals to help me. So I believe them to be quite a bit stronger, more effective, as they're based on your own brain reinterpreting everything that I say, the way it's all presented, sometimes overlapping, sometimes beside itself, sometimes in order. Sometimes certain areas are louder than others. This is all specifically designed to help your brain to process all of the information, despite what I'm saying, in terms of your own experience. Now, the problem I have with those other things, for me, was that they tended to be based on NLP, and I think NLP is quite good. But the problem I have with NLP is that unless you write it yourself, it can't be effective. The whole idea of NLP is that it's like a story that is being told, but it's being written by someone with different experience, with different ideas, with different values, with different history, with different this, with different that, a different upbringing, different everything. And because of that, there's absolutely no way that I can write an NLP script, no matter how smart I might be, or you might be, or anyone might be, that I can make you interpret it subconsciously the way I want you to. That's absolutely impossible. So, and that's what I found too. So that gave birth to triliminals. Now, the brain prints were birthed from the fact that people also said that the triliminals took too much time. But keep in mind, I'm a neuroscientist. You have to understand that the brain is what the brain is. I can't change it because, some people don't think they have the time. I have found, and most people have found when they actually look, that they waste a lot of time every day, and they actually do have time. But if they choose not to look at it, then obviously they're not going to find it. Regardless of that, I was asked by probably hundreds of people, Morry, can you please come up with a way to do triliminals that doesn't involve us having to lie down with our eyes closed, stereo headphones, blah, 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 for at least 2 or 3 times a day. So what I did was I discovered a way to subliminalize brainwave entrainment. And that's what I was explaining earlier in this call, was that I was actually getting brainwave entrainment subconsciously. And up until this point in time, brainwave entrainment had to be heard. Ba, 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 ba. If you didn't hear it, you couldn't get what's called the cortical evoked response, and then the frequency following response in the brain. That couldn't occur until I developed the brain prints and we listened to the Initiator first a couple of times a week so that the brain recognizes the subliminalized entrainment. I also came up with a way to You see, because with the triliminals, you wear the headphones and you get specially designed information into the left ear that goes to the right hemisphere. And then you get specially designed information for the right ear that goes into the left hemisphere. And then, of course, another voice in the center that goes for possibly both or either or. So how do I get that over? Well, I created a technique where subliminally the brain would respond to the particular areas. For instance, if you resonate the brain at a specific frequency, there are certain parts of the brain that will react more than others. They're just sensitive, if you will, to those specific or typical frequencies. It's the same. In the same way, I've developed a technique which, used in the brain prints, takes the triliminal information and still deposits it into the proper locations in the brain. Okay, so as far as that's concerned, as far as the learning strategies is concerned, as far as I know, it's simply NLP here, NLP there, and I think there's some music or something. To be honest, I haven't used it in so long, I really can't remember much else. But you'd be better off asking them how their technology works and then comparing the two stories and seeing which resonates better with you. How does the science compare to the science behind, okay, the paraliminals? So we've already discussed that. Okay, so more questions, please. We're at the 21-minute mark, almost 21 and a half minutes. I'm happy to end the call anytime, but I'd certainly rather keep it going at least a little bit longer and answer more of your questions, comments, or concerns. So maybe now is a good time, while you're thinking of your questions, for me to tell you a little bit about what got me into this in the first place. So I'm in my mid-50s, and I've spent most of my life, till probably around 40 or so, pardon me, in severe depression. I used to be a sex addict, I used to be a drug addict, I used to be an alcoholic, I used to be all these things all at once. I was so depressed that I used to wake up every morning and look out the window, cross my fingers, mind you, and pull away the curtain, hoping, not being afraid, hoping to see mushroom clouds. And every time I looked out the window and I didn't see mushroom clouds, it depressed me even more, because it meant I had to live through another day. I have attempted to end my life a number of times, but obviously it's not that hard to do it if you really want to do it. So more of me wanted to survive than wanted to die. And as a result, I realized that if I can't find a way to die, I have to find a way to live. That's what basically started me on my search. Most of us will look first to see if the wheel's already been invented, rather than trying to reinvent it. I tried everything under the sun. There used to be this is long before the internet, there used to be a magazine, Learning for Tomorrow, something for tomorrow, I can't even remember the name of it now, but it had all this really cool stuff in it. It had like light and sound machines, blinking lights and current, so you put electricity on your brain and pulse your brain, and all these varying techniques, hypnosis masters, meditation masters, tapes, CDs, eventually CDs. When I was starting, it was tapes primarily. And I tried everything under the sun, including pretty much everything that you may have tried out there today. And nothing worked. Everything I tried held a promise of helping me, but it didn't. And you I'm sure know what it's like. I was going to say you don't know what it's like, but you probably do know what it's like to want to actually find something that's going to help you, because you're so helpless and hopeless. And every time you get your hopes up, they get dashed. They get just thrown down, they get thrown away. It's no fun at all, and it's a roller coaster. You go up and you go down, you go up and you go down. You get hopeful, you get down and depressed, you get hopeful again, you get down and depressed, and every time you go up and down, it seems like it's a larger dip and a larger down. And it was getting really bad. And then I came across this thing called brainwave entrainment. And for some reason, that really stuck with me. You see, you have to understand, I've got wonderful parents. My brother, an amazing guy. My family, wonderful. Somehow, I even managed to have friends through all of this. But for some reason, I just wasn't happy and I wasn't motivated and I was a failure. I can't tell you how many times I had jobs where people would tell me, oh, you're going to be so good at this. You're going to be so good at this. And I was an utter failure. I was terrible. It was horrible. Well, eventually I realized that I'm going to have to help myself. I can't expect someone else to help me. I can't expect someone else's philosophy to help me either. So I created what is now known as the Morry Method. And the Morry Method is essentially a conglomeration of everything I've tried that I thought had bits and pieces of value for me. Now remember, it's value for me. I'm not bad-mouthing anything I tried. I'm not saying it's crap. I'm just saying it didn't work for me. So I evolved something else. I innovated something else. And I think this is what the human condition is all about. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of people in a lot of businesses, not just the self-improvement business, but also in the self-improvement business, who come up with an idea and then they ride it like for their entire career. And that's okay, I suppose, but that's not good enough for me, because I don't think that one thing, no matter how brilliant it might be, is enough for everybody, or at least for as many people as possible. I think human race is evolving all the time. I think we're evolving socially, although if you read the newspaper, you may not agree with me, but I do believe we are. I believe we're evolving physically and mentally, psychologically, intellectually. We're evolving all the time. So why is it that we have so many, systems, self-improvement systems, other kinds of systems, that once they were developed, they've never been changed, ever? They've never evolved. It's like people it's the wisdom of the ages. Well, you know something, people? We know more now than we ever knew in the history of our existence. So how come is it that, it doesn't mean we know everything, and it certainly doesn't mean we understand how the universe works, but we certainly have a better understanding now than we've ever had. So how come is it so many of our philosophies are mired in being the same as they've been for thousands of years? That doesn't make sense to me. So I developed my first recordings, and they really started helping me. I mean, I had thousands of voices, and the first time I listened to one of my recordings, I suddenly realized when the voices came back after the recording ended that the voices were gone. I mean, this was amazing. And this was part of my quantum mind power, or what turned into my quantum mind power system. So what happened was I found some hope in my own work, but my own work couldn't have happened without the work of others. I fully expect at some point someone's going to take my work and innovate on it and make it better too. And that's natural, and I welcome that. But in the meantime, I am constantly striving to find new and innovative ways to do things. That doesn't mean when I come out with new things, like I was telling you earlier about my new beta tests that will be running shortly, I actually have another 8 or 9 products that are almost ready to go too, but they need to be tested. Now, the point of this story is that I want to help as many people as possible. Quantum mind power is almost 10 years old, but you know what? It's just as effective today as it ever was. I don't release anything unless it is effective, and I believe it to be really, really effective, to stand the test of time. The human brain is the human brain. It doesn't matter that it's 10 years from now. People make the mistake because we're taught to believe by companies like Apple and Samsung and General Motors and Toyota and Mercedes and BMW and all this stuff, that just because something is newer, it's better. But that's not true. That's not true at all. Especially when it comes to my work is different. I am trying to design new and innovative systems so that the people who don't resonate with my previous systems have something else that they can do. Also, many of the people who already resonate with what I have also enjoy the new recordings and the new systems. And I can't really get into it yet, but soon enough you'll get emails asking you to come on to a YouTube call again, where I will be describing and asking people to fill out a quick little form, maybe 3 or 4 questions, just to let me know and then email them to me, so I can pick maybe 10, 20, 25 people for each beta test, so that we can get started and innovate further and more. So this is what I do. I have come out of my depression. I have come out of my sense of worthlessness, and I have decided that I cannot just be happy and sit on what success I have. I have to continually innovate and innovate and innovate, because if I don't try, then I am ignoring a segment of the population. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to know about me. It doesn't mean everybody's going to use my stuff. But if they come across me, I want them to be able to find something that can help them, to help themselves, because that is what my stuff is all about. It is all about helping people to help themselves. Okay? It's when I read Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and all the experts who had all these techniques and all these theories, they're brilliant people. There's no question about that. But you know what? You can only be an expert in yourself and your own experience. And this is the mistake, not, I don't think, that they make in writing their books or their philosophies, but we make in reading them. I think that our mistake, at least my mistake, was to read this stuff and take it as like the word of you know who. So I should be following it step by step by step. It's like directions on a map. Turn right, turn left, go straight. And assume that that's going to work for me. Well, you know what? It won't, because I am not Deepak Chopra. I am not Wayne Dyer, and I am not any of these other people. And you know what? Their systems didn't work for me because I'm not them, and I followed them without intuiting and changing them and adjusting them and advancing them and making them mine, interpreting them within my own frame of reference and within my own frame of experience. That was my mistake. My systems are specifically designed to do that for you. It allows you to be the one in control. My systems don't cure you. My systems don't do anything except allow you to help yourself. That's the trick. That is what got me better. I believe that is what will help everybody. When we stop leaning on other people saying, oh, help me, do this, do that, give me a pill, give me this, give me that. Instead of saying that, saying, thank you for this tool, like an exercise bike, like dumbbells, like, a push-up board, like a stair climber, like whatever, which when you use it properly makes you stronger. When you use my systems properly, they help to make you stronger. And then it's your strength that carries you through the day and makes you better and makes you evolve. It's always you. And that's what my systems are about, and that's kind of how I got started on it. It's a bit of a Reader's Digest abridged version, but I saw there was another comment in there, and I see there's another person watching now. So before I get to the other comment, Oatmeal, I love you. Thank you very much for participating so well. The other people out there, please type and tap. Okay, I'd love to hear from you. I am here to help all of you. And I want this video to be up here for people who are going to be watching. And I want them to get something out of this. And trust me, if you have a question, a comment, or a concern, I guarantee you, you're not the only person. And if you're inspired, that the thought comes to your head, type it out, tap it out, because there's other people you will be helping. This is what we need to understand. We need to honor ourselves. If we truly want to improve ourselves, we need to honor our thoughts. We need to honor them, usually with action, as long as that action is helpful. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys and girls a chance to type or tap, and I'm going to get to Oatmeal's next point. I also suffer from alcoholism. I feel for you. I do. Can brainprints triliminals help repair the brain that is affected by addiction? For instance, the frontal lobe and cortex and the damage that is done to each area. Okay, please understand that I'm not a doctor. This is a lab coat, but I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm a neuroscientist and I'm self-trained. I cannot make a diagnosis or a medical claim. All I can say is that I offer my products with guarantees. I hope that people use them properly. Frankly, I do not understand why people will buy something. They'll spend their hard-earned money and buy something and then let it gather dust on their hard drive. It blows me away how many people will do that, as if they think that the simple act of buying a self-help aid or buying a supplement or buying this or buying that is enough to effect change. It isn't. You have to take the full action. If you are willing to use the triliminals properly, if you're willing to use quantum mind power, quantum confidence, or the effortless prosperity systems properly, or the brain prints properly, consistently and regularly over time, I believe you can help yourself and do things that you might find quite amazing. But as far as your specific question, I'm so sorry. I am not allowed to make any kind of a comment like that. But I would love for you to use the systems properly, regularly, consistently, and then for you to tell me how you're doing. I can only tell you my experience, which I already did. I'm a completely different person. I am happy where I was, I look at the black. Do you see this black here? I don't know how black it's showing up on your monitors or on your phone screens, but imagine that black surrounding you all the time. Now imagine that that black is a bright sunny day for you. So my version of black makes this look bright and sunny. Now you hear how I talk. You hear how I express my experience previously. Do you hear any emotional pain or ties in what I'm saying? There's nothing. I have dealt with everything. That's how you can tell when you've dealt with something, by understanding that it is actually not emotional to you anymore. You can discuss it. I broke my kneecap. That is excruciating. But you see, I'm saying it with a smile on my face because I've dealt with it. I've moved on. That is the trick. Now, when something we need to understand about how the brain works, okay, and I have this theory which I believe is borne out, but again, I don't have peer-reviewed research. I think peer-reviewed research is BS anyway. I think you can make it say anything you want. So I'm not a big fan of it. That's why I give samples, so people can try my stuff and judge for themselves what happens. Now, what I believe is going on is that your brain creates chemistry. We know that. Okay? Beta, alpha, delta, theta, gamma, all these different frequencies and the varieties and intertwinings of them all create different neurochemistry depending on which is dominant and which cells are pulsing at that particular rate, et cetera, et cetera. So you create kind of like a neural soup in your head by your depressive thoughts, for instance. And that's what happened to me. So I had all these depressive thoughts that kind of formed over the years. As far as I remember, I've always been depressed. So before. And what happens is you feel depressed, you get the thoughts in your head, and that's what prompted me actually to try to get help, because I kind of thought, I need to stop thinking this way. I can't go on like this. It's horrible to go on like this. So I thought to myself, I got to change my thoughts. So that's why I was reading all these brilliant people's books and video, and videos. Back then it was on tape or on, the education channels and things like that. And I did everything I could to expose myself to good things and to good thinking, but I couldn't change my thoughts. They were just negative all the time. When people spoke to me to try to help me, because they'd see how sad I was, they would talk to me, hey, Morry, blah, 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 blah. That's what I heard, like the Simpsons dog. I don't know if any of you ever watched The Simpsons, but their dog, Santa's little helper, whenever, they show it from his perspective, all he hears is blah, 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 blue, blah, 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 hello, blah, 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 blah. That's all he hears is blah, blah. That's all I heard was blah, blah, blah. But the more I started listening to my own recordings, suddenly I'm hearing more words than blah, blah. And then I'm actually starting to take action on some of the things they're telling me. And things were changing all by themselves. I wasn't even trying to change beyond listening regularly. And for me, with my serious situation, I was listening 3, 4, 5 hours a day sometimes, just to give you an indication. But it's that neural chemistry. So I couldn't change the chemistry because I couldn't change my thoughts. And then it struck me. And that's where the brainwave entrainment came in. That's when it struck me. That's when the aha moment came. I can't change my thoughts. But it's a cycle, right? So I have these negative thoughts. They create the negative chemical soup. Comes back to the negative, more negative thoughts, more negative soup, and it's just a self-perpetuating machine. It just goes on and on and on and on. But then it hit me. What if I can actually stop? What if I could change my chemistry? Would that then change my thoughts? I couldn't change my thoughts, which I was hoping to change my chemistry with. But what if I could change the chemistry? Would that change my thoughts? And that was the trick. I used my products. My chemistry was being subtly altered, I believe. I felt it. And my thinking was altered. Again, instead of hearing blah, 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 and not doing anything about it, I'm hearing words and compassion and starting to take action. This is the aha. This is the secret. This is how we change. Okay? And That's how I changed. And that's how I've helped others to help themselves. Remember, there's nothing special about me. It's all about you. And you're the person who's going to help yourself simply by committing to yourself some regular listening time and then taking action when you're inspired to. So I hope that's been helpful for people. And it certainly made our video a little longer for anyone who's going to download it later. Oatmeal, I see you have another comment, which I'm going to get to. We have 5 people watching now. Please type and tap. Oatmeal is a superstar because he or she is keeping this call alive. All right. Please, other people, comments, concerns, questions, even if you just kind of found this and you don't know what it's about, ask me, what's this about? My name is, this is my issue in life, and how can your stuff help me? Feel free, okay? So let's move on to Oatmeal. Can you elaborate on the products you have developed but still need beta testing? All right, here, I can't really elaborate, but I'll give you a quick rundown, okay? So I have a visual system. It's not really a system yet, but it's a technique which I need to test to see how effective it is for people. I've tried it for myself, blew me away. But I could be biased. You know how a parent is with their kids, right? Oh, my kid is so beautiful. My kid is so beautiful. And then you look at the kid and you go, right? So that's why we need beta testing, because I might be too close to this, okay? Again, we have the other system that we're going to be testing that has to do with our ability to be completely stress-free. And we're going to use blood pressure meters, pictures. People are going to have to send me a week of their readings at specific times, specific days before they actually use anything, and then I will send them the system where they will start using it, and we will start comparing readings. Okay, so we can get some legitimate results. This isn't going to be peer reviewed. This is strictly for my own use, so I can see how these things work. Okay. Some of you might actually be into chakras, okay, and energy centers in the body. Well, I had spoken before. I kind of went on a bit of a tirade, you may have noticed, about how I think it's insane that we have so many systems around that people, hem and haw about like crazy, that have never changed ever in the history of them. Chakras is one of them, and it really ticked me off. I actually had someone ask me, can you create a chakra system for me? And I said, if you want a chakra system, just go online. There's like 1 million of them. You can buy, people have recordings. It's out there like a dime a dozen. There's billions of them. And he said, yeah, but I really like your stuff, so can you make one? And I said, under one condition. He asked me what? I said, I have to put my own slant on this. I can't just do a series of recordings of sound waves that you're going to expose different parts of your body to try to entrain them to a particular frequency, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Been there, done that hundreds, thousands of times, been around for thousands of years the same way. Okay, people use chanting, people use this, and people use that in efforts to, balance chakras. So I combine science, my intuition, as well as ancient knowledge. And I've come up with a chakra system that I will be testing with people as well. There is another system. I don't know how many of you may or may not know this, but one of my recordings from another system, which many of you probably don't know about, from a website called Active Minds Global that I have, a recording was recommended by a Dr. Dale Bredesen, and he wrote a book called The End of Alzheimer's. It's been on the New York Times bestsellers list, and he recommended one of my recordings for his system. And I took that as a hint from the universe that I need to improve on the system. I have a little bit of traction with it now, so I have a system I call Cognition, which is specifically designed to help stimulate the brain. And I want to see what kind of results it gets. So I have that. I have another customer client who had a issue or is having an issue with her DNA. She asked me to create a system that might be able to help with that. Now, obviously, this is something that I can't, prove myself. I don't have millions of dollars to do research and have, RNA and DNA, devices to measure these things. But people can certainly use them and see if their experience of life and physical existence changes for a benefit. So I have that as a beta system as well. I have a learning system. I have peak performance systems in sports and business. I have a sleep system specifically designed for newborns and babies up to 2 years old. If you're a young parent out there, I think that could be a very good thing. I have a sleep system for adults that I want to try. And then I have another one that I want to try for people to help them do better at work. Okay, to have that unfair advantage at work. And those are essentially the systems that I will be doing beta testing on. I'm hoping to get enough. I'm hoping to get them all at least in the process of being tested before the end of the year. But I'm sure you can see that there's a lot there. So it's probably going to take me a little bit of time to be able to get out there and let you know exactly. I'll send emails out from the morrymethod.com. I'll also have Song send emails out from, Quantum Mind Success International. Most of you are probably on his list, so you'll be able to get the notifications. And as long as you qualify, you'll have to, come on to another YouTube chat with me like this. I will go more into detail what these things are. And then I don't know if you can put a form up here or if you can drag and drop a sheet, but we'll email you anyway. A quick questionnaire, maybe 3, 4, 5 questions. Simple, easy to answer questions, quick ones. You don't have to answer, books or chapters or anything like that, just a few lines at most. And then I will be handpicking 25 people probably for each beta test. The beta testers, the way it's going to work is this, because I have found when I do beta tests in the past, people just take the products and they disappear. So what I will be doing is I'll be charging probably $100 for people to have the privilege of beta testing. But don't hang up on me yet, okay? What will be required is 6 to 8 weeks of either a weekly or a bi-weekly report that you'll have to send me. Okay, I haven't decided if I'm going to ask you to write it yourself, whether it's going to be like at least a paragraph 2 or 3 long, or a point form, or maybe it'll be a form that I'll give you and you fill out every week or every other week. Okay, once you satisfy the terms of the arrangement, in other words, for 6 or 8 weeks, depending on what I decide, depending on the product, at that point, once you have satisfied your requirements by using the product steadily and reporting on it honestly, then I will refund your money and you get to keep the product for free. So that's how the beta testing will work. That way I can be assured that you're going to take part. Okay, if I can't be assured you're going to take part, then I'm just giving away stuff for free, and that's not fair to anybody because I don't get any feedback and I don't know if it's good, if it needs help, if it's a waste of time. I don't know any of this unless you follow through. And I find that people, when they have a vested interest of $100 at least, then they're going to follow through. Okay, these products I envision going around that neighborhood of about 100, 147, maybe 198 at some point. So even if you decide to grab the product and run, you're going to get a deal, but at least I get something for the trouble too. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. I'm looking, I don't see anybody else writing anything. I realize this is the first time and it might be a little new for folks out there. If you're looking at me full screen, then minimize the screen, or don't minimize it, but make it smaller. There's probably a little box if you put your cursor over. Let me just see here. Yeah, there's a box in the bottom right. If you click on, if you just highlight it, you'll see theater mode, play on TV, full screen, that kind of thing. You can also take the window and make it smaller if you wish as well. What that will do is that will probably free it up and let you see where you can type questions. So this call's getting there. I would like to stretch it at least to an hour again, so those of you who are watching this as a recording have something that gives you valuable information that you can use as well. So I'd very much like somebody else to type something. I see there's 5 people here now, which is great. I think for a first customer service call on YouTube, that's a very nice number. I understand it's very new for people and they may be having a hard time getting used to it, and some of you may have been afraid thinking you're going to be on the YouTube as well. But I'm sure the next call next month will have more people. That's good. But I would appreciate it if those out there typed anything. So that would be terrific. Okay, so Oatmeal, thank you again. Oatmeal, What can I tell you? I just appreciate you, and I'm sure everybody else does too. Instead of hearing me beg, please, please type something. Actually, we're getting people. So, are any of your products stronger or more effective than the others? Actually, I kind of touched on this, but I'm more than happy to elaborate. What I do is not better than what I have done. It is different. Some people will resonate with a more visual event. That's why I'm developing a visual product right now that we're going to be beta testing soon. Some people will respond more to a triliminal. Some people will respond more to a brain print. Some people will respond better to quantum mind power, or quantum confidence, or effortless prosperity, or effortless weight and health, or effortless relationships and love. I innovate. I come up with different modalities so that more people can be helped. But do not make the mistake of assuming that just because something is old or older, that it isn't as good. Depending on who you are, it might even be better. Okay? So don't make the mistake of thinking. What I normally suggest to people is quite simple. And I know it can be a bit of a pain sometimes. But what you need to do is this. Read the sales letters. And I realize they can be really long and laborious, okay? But hey, I read research papers. You want to talk long and laborious, read a research paper, okay? And I read them every day. So if I can do it, you can certainly do it. So do your research, okay? Read the letters. See what resonates with you. Remember, you're your own guru here. My systems are designed to help you to help yourself. So take some responsibility to help yourself. Read what they're about. Read the comments from other people. Read what I have to say about them. And decide for yourself which you feel might be better for you. Now, right now, you can go to the morrymethod.com/products. Okay? That's where you can see all. Here, let me just www.themorrymethod. Oops, I don't know how to spell apparently. The Morry, I'll get there sooner or later. I'm not the world's best typist. What can I tell you? www.themorrymethod.com/products. Okay, when you go there, you'll be able to see most of my product line. You'll be able to read a little brief blurb, and if it interests you at all, you click to read more. And that will give you an indication as to what you feel might be better for you. Remember, it's about you. You're your guru. I was telling you about all the big names in self-improvement, how the one flaw that I see that they all have is that they don't tell you to reinterpret everything within your own terms and reimagine it within terms of your own experience. They give you a blueprint and it never works, which is why people keep buying more and more of their books, because they've turned into stars and people just assume it's their fault, not like theirs as in my fault. And again, mine, not Morry, but mine is in a customer or a consumer who's buying their books and it's not working for. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's because you need to reinterpret and reimagine in your own terms. You need to make it your own. When you make it your own, that's when it will help you. Okay? That's the nature of every single system I've ever created. It's designed to help you to help yourself. Even the spoken word aspects, if you don't agree with them, the way they're presented, you either ignore them or reimagine them or reinterpret them in your own frame of reference so that they are beneficial and they do make sense to you. Remember, I'm different from you. I can't possibly know exactly what to do to help you. But if you have an issue, you can help yourself. And that's the trick. That is the brilliance behind anything. Understanding that you have the power to help yourself and taking that power back instead of going to all these experts and shoveling your cash at them and saying, you do it for me, you do it for me, you do it for me. And then you spend most of your life thinking, why didn't they do it for me? Because they can't do it for you. No matter how good their intentions, no matter how pure their intentions are, they cannot help you. All they can do through their words, through their products, just like me, is inspire you. If you use my products, they will help you to help yourself. They will help you to inspire yourself. They will help you to help yourself take action. That is what will make things different for you, and that is what will change things for you. So, it looks like Oatmeal is going to win the award as the only person willing to type anything. You know, when we held these things on Instant Teleseminar, I had the hardest time trying to get someone to put their hand up to talk to me on the phone so that other people could hear another voice. One of the reasons why we're on YouTube now is because of that. Instant Teleseminar allows people to talk on the phone, but what's the point if no one's going to participate on the phone? So I thought this way I can be here, you see me looking at you, you look into my eyes, you look into my face, you see who I am. I also get to use my hands, which is great. So I think it's much more tactile. I think it's a better experience, and I think it'll catch on. It'll take a little while, obviously, but I think it will. So I'm going to ask for some more questions, please, or comments. Everybody else out there, the other 4 of you that are watching, Oatmeal has been really pulling his or her weight, and yours, and mine for that matter. So I would really appreciate if before we close this call, we could get just 1 or 2 questions in, or comments. If you've used my products, how about this? What are some of your experiences from using my products? Do you have people that you know that you think could use the products, but you find that they fight you on it? What kind of arguments do they come up with? Maybe I can help you with that too. Anything. Type, type, type. Tap, tap, tap. Of course, tapping on your hand feels good, but it doesn't really get any messages across. Actually, it does feel very good. Kind of like entrainment. Hey, that would be a great question, actually. I would love to ask some of you out there, how do you feel? Now, keep in mind that the point of these recordings isn't how you feel while you're listening. It's after listening regularly, the effects that they help you with to help yourself. But I'd be interested in knowing, how do you feel when you're actually listening? And tell me what you're listening to, and tell me how you feel when you're listening. Okay, like physical. Do you feel tingling? Do you feel airiness? Do you feel light? Do you feel heavy? Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel alert? Do you feel itchy? Anything at all? Somebody? Something? I'm so close to an hour. I really want this to be an hour. Okay. Well, it looks, I'm going to give you folks some time to type and tap if you are inspired to do so. But while I'm waiting for that, I will tell you one more thing about me that you probably don't know, because I really didn't know it up until some time ago, like maybe 10, 15 years ago. And this is that I didn't understand that I was defining things as bad. Like we all do, right? Things happen to us and we say, oh, that's bad. Now, what I learned and what I now understand is that that's the worst thing you can possibly do. When we define something as bad, we don't learn anything from it. When we define something as giving us resistance, so I feel resistant to this, I back away. I don't want to have anything to do with it, right? And that's a mistake because you don't learn anything. I'm going to tell you a very quick story. This will easily take us over and hopefully give some of you out there a chance to type something. But when I was a small child, maybe 6 or 7 years old, I was living in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. And interestingly enough, I was a bit of a troublemaker. I can't remember if I was depressed back then or not. Maybe just stupid. I don't really know. But my mother was cooking at the stove and she was talking on the phone. And for those of you who remember the old princess style phones with the curly Q cord that went on for like 15 meters or something. Back then we called it feet here in Canada. Now we say meters and everything. But what happened was she was cooking. So she's stirring a pot on the stovetop. She's talking on the phone, and I'm behind her. And of course, I want her attention. So I'm tugging on her and going, come on, Mom, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And, Morry, I'm on the phone, I'm cooking, go play with something. So that was fine. But I got enthralled by this little spiral thing on the stovetop that was orange, and it was like pulsing, glowing, and it was really, really cool. Actually really hot, but to me it was cool. So I started reaching out, and my mom saw, and she says, "Honey, don't do that. You'll burn yourself." So my hand withdrew. And as soon as she stopped, paying attention to me again, my hand starts going in again. I start going in to touch it. And she goes, "Honey, don't do that." Well, there's still the honey, there's still the love there, but now the voice is more forceful. Well, I went in again and again and again, and it got more violent, her response each time, trying to stop me. Finally, "Stop it! You're going to burn yourself." Anger. She slapped me to try to stop me from burning myself. Now I'm scared. So she thought, oh, finally, he learned his lesson. So she goes back to cooking. She goes back to talking. This time, I go in and I touch it. She couldn't catch me in time. What happened was I burned the crap out of my hand, and I was crying, and it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. The moral of this story is, and what I learned is, and hopefully you all can learn this too, is that when we define something as bad, we don't learn anything from it. But when we define it as an experience, as an education, then we look for something that can teach us something about it, and we learn. For instance, if the first time I reached in and my mom said, "Honey, don't do that, you'll burn yourself," if I had paid attention to her, I wouldn't have had to get slapped, and I certainly wouldn't have had to have my hand burned. But I didn't listen. I kept using the wrong definition, and I refused to learn. I absolutely refused to learn. I'm asking you, look at your life. Look at the things that come to you, okay? And look at them. The things that you're defining as bad, especially the ones that are repeating over and over and over again. And see if maybe they're not repeating because you're not listening to the lesson. And maybe they're getting worse and worse and worse, and you think your luck is getting worse and worse and worse, but in reality, you're just ignoring the lesson. And just like a loving mother, you're getting more and more noisy and angry to try to get the point across, to try to get the lesson across. So I ask you to think about that. Now, while I was rambling on, I see that there is another question/comment. So if you're out there and you want to type or tap, please feel free. I will get to this. Hi, Morry. After listening to different triliminals for a few times, I have learned to set my intentions for the day and then look at the triliminals and pick the one that resonates with me. You see, that's wonderful. That's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You're listening to yourself. You are the guru. And you know what's funny is in all my systems, I usually give a minimal listening routine. And I suggest strongly that people follow that for at least a month, maybe two. After that, you should do exactly what we're doing here. You do what you're inspired to do. Be a scientist, experiment. Use your intuition to pick the next recording. So my minimal listening is a minimum listening. But once you've listened often enough, you need to take over yourself. Remember, you're the guru here. So I just give you a starting point. But I'm not taking you by the hand and leading you because I don't know you. You know you. You need to take over yourself. Just like a little birdie, when it's born, it gets fed a little bit and then it gets to fly. And when it flies, it takes off and it's gone. That's the same with you. You need to use my systems the way I suggest in the beginning. But when you start getting that inspiration to try yourself, do it. You might be very pleasantly surprised. Now, the only addendum I want to add here is don't follow your intuition if it tells you to use these things driving or while doing anything potentially dangerous, okay? But otherwise, follow your intuition. Sometimes I want to, I think to myself, I want to listen to this recording today, and then when it comes time to listen, I get this strong urge to listen to something else, and I honor it, and I listen to it. And usually later that day or the next morning, something happens that particular recording was completely relevant for, or prepared me for. And it's amazing. And I'm not special. This is anybody. Anybody's like this. So you can all be like this too. So let's go for the second point here. Sometimes I feel scared, but I still go ahead and listen. And then it won't be unfamiliar and confusing to me anymore. Just wanted to share. Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's wonderful. You know, that's a perfect example of resistance trying to stop you from listening. I can't tell you how many clients we have who bought stuff 2, 3 years ago, hear me talk, see a YouTube thing. Well, now they'll see a YouTube thing, but maybe come across an interview where I've been interviewed in a podcast, and they remember, oh, right, I used to use that stuff. Why did I stop? I really liked it. And they stop because of resistance, because all of us have, and this is another theory of mine, okay, but all of us have this 6 or 7 year old buried deep inside of us that never changes. The reason I say 6, 7, maybe 8 years old is because that's approximately the age where we make the most important discovery we will ever make in our entire lives. And that is the discovery that mommy and daddy are not gods. And we are indeed autonomous. We can think without them, we can eat without them, we can do all kinds of things without them. We still love them. We still see them as authority figures, don't get me wrong. But we understand, it's the biggest discovery we will ever make intellectually, that we are autonomous. Okay? We do not need them to survive. We are autonomous. That is such an incredible discovery that we make, that we suddenly are galvanized and we think we know everything. I mean, think about your own kids, if you have any, okay? When they're 6, 7, 8, they think they know everything. Well, that person stays alive inside your head. That 6, 7, 8-year-old version of you that thinks it knows everything. And it's probably directly responsible for most of the poor decisions you've ever made. Don't let a child rule your life. You wouldn't let your kid run your life. Don't let your old kid self run your life either. Okay? Very, very important to remember that. So, the idea behind these recordings also is to help you to gain control over the kid. The kid's important. You want to be able to laugh. You want to be able to be silly. But you don't want that person to be running your life and making all your decisions. You're much wiser now. Even if you're 12 years old, you're much wiser than you were at 6. So keep that in mind. It's the dynamics. I try with these talks to help people to understand the dynamic of why things happen and how things happen. Once you understand these things, you're much better prepared, and it's a lot easier because you're no longer afraid. You understand how things work. So I hope that's been helpful. And thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to give you, say, 30 seconds more to see if we can get any more typing or tapping. Ooh, I like that. Typing, tapping. Really loosens up my fingers when I do that, so that's quite good. But I will take this opportunity to thank you all for being here on my inaugural visit. This recording, of course, like all YouTube videos, will be there for you to look at again if there was anything I said that you'd like to write down or take notes on, or simply just watch this again. For those of you that are watching this as a replay, thank you very much. For those of you that came live, thank you very, very much. I want to give a special shout out to Rene and Oatmeal, because both of you helped to keep me going. For those of you that were just listening, I appreciate you too. But please, next time, consider taking part. Be honest and responsible with yourself. And more importantly, honor yourself. If you feel like saying something, you should say it. Okay? So please honor yourself. I want to thank everybody for being with me tonight. And thank you for making this a lot easier than it could have been. Thank you very much as well. I appreciate your support with this call. And, you know, just because this is a once a month call doesn't mean that I'm not available. I sign all my emails with "I'm here for you." If you don't have my email, you can contact me at the Morry Method.com. Let me just make sure I spelled that right. You can contact me at the Morry Method.com. That's okay, Oatmeal, no problem. You're not the first person. So you can contact me at that email address, or you can go to themorrymethod.com and simply hit the contact us, or you can reply to any of our emails that we send you offering our various products at different sale prices. So again, thank you all so much for being with me. I look forward to next month, but of course I am here always for you. as you are for me. Have an absolutely wonderful day, afternoon, evening, whatever it may be for you. And I'm Morry Zelkovich, saying good night, good day, good afternoon. I am here for you. Bye for now.